Prayer is often used as a placeholder, a kind of cosmic busy work. It gives the illusion of action while doing nothing to solve the problem in front of you. At best, it's a signal that says, "This is out of my hands. Only God can handle it." At worst, it trains you to believe you're powerless until something outside you intervenes. But true strength doesn't come from outsourcing your life, it comes from learning what's actually happening under the hood: the psychology, the biology, the mechanics of your own mind and body, and then using that knowledge to mastermind your life. That's why I want to talk about 15 secular habits to replace prayer. For those who are deconstructing and wondering what life looks like without it, and for those who've never prayed but are still searching for ways to cope, find strength, and connect. These practices are for you. The truth is, prayer never had a monopoly on peace, gratitude, or courage. These are human needs, and there are human tools to meet them. Habits you can measure, test, and actually trust without pretending, without waiting on the invisible, without handing away your power. So let's get into what life looks like when you stop outsourcing your agency and start reclaiming it. Let's begin with the category of centering yourself. Many times, the idea of prayer was about finding a little stillness to center yourself. That's a need we all have in a chaotic world. Not only does prayer not have a monopoly on meeting those needs, prayer is often the monopoly version of meeting those needs, promising peace without giving you tools you can measure or repeat. That often pressures people into pretending. So, here are three tools that are practically effective with outcomes that can be predicted, demonstrated, and measured that can help you center yourself in times of chaos, crises, or conflict. The first one, mindful breathing. Nothing fancy, just stopping to actually notice your own breath. In, out. A couple times is usually enough to calm the noise. Slow breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body designed to calm stress. It literally changes your physiology in under 90 seconds. At first, your mind may race, but if you stick with just 3 to 5 intentional breaths, most people feel a noticeable drop in tension. Clinical research has shown mindfulness breathing can reduce anxiety symptoms by up to 43% in some studies, with effects comparable to medication in mild cases. Another one is journaling. Instead of giving it to God, I give it to the page. Thoughts, worries, hopes, once it's written, it doesn't have to rattle around in my head anymore. Writing externalizes your thoughts. Psychologists call it cognitive offloading. By seeing them in ink or print, you process them instead of endlessly replaying them. Your first entries might feel scattered, but over time, patterns emerge. You notice what keeps showing up, and that awareness itself is healing. Studies show journaling can improve mental clarity, reduce intrusive thoughts, and even strengthen immune function. One study found people who wrote about emotional challenges visited the doctor less often in the following months. Another great practice is affirmations. Sometimes I still need words, but now I direct them inward. I've got this. I can take today as it comes. It feels simple, but saying it to myself actually shifts something. Affirmations disrupt negative self talk and replace it with intentional self direction. Over time, this retrains your inner voice. At first, it might feel corny or forced, but repeated phrases become believable. The brain can't help but adjust when it hears consistent messages. And keep in mind, that works both ways. Neuroscience research on self affirmation shows it increases activity in the brain's reward centers, improving motivation and resilience under stress. The difference here is agency. Prayer asks someone else to fix the storm. These practices teach you how to steady yourself in it. Now, here's a question for you. If you grew up praying, do you notice any leftover instinct to bow your head or pause? And how could you retrain that instinct into something practical? Let me know in the comments. Let's move into the second category of habits: reflection and gratitude. Prayer was often framed as giving thanks or confessing lessons learned. But the truth is, gratitude and reflection don't need an invisible audience to matter. They become even more powerful when they're directed inward and outward, toward yourself, your growth, and the people who are actually a part of your life. Here are three practices that take those familiar emotions and ground them in reality. Number one, a daily gratitude log. Every day, list 3 to 5 things you're thankful for, big or small. The smile from a stranger, a warm cup of coffee, a win at work. Gratitude shifts your attention from what's lacking to what's present. It retrains your brain to notice good rather than scanning for threats all the time. At first, it might feel forced, and it is. Some days you'll struggle to find even one thing, but stick with it. Over time, your brain gets better at scanning for positives automatically. Research from UC Davis found people who kept gratitude journals reported 25% more happiness, slept better, and even exercised more regularly. I got to get back to it. Also, consider incorporating end of the day reflections into your day. Note lessons learned and what you'll carry forward. Instead of folding your hands at night and confessing, take a moment to jot down what you learned that day and what you want to carry forward. Reflection consolidates memory and creates a sense of growth. It turns random experiences into lessons. You may start by writing small observations like, hey, I snapped a little less today. But over time, you'll notice themes, patterns of growth, or areas that keep coming up. Studies show structured reflection improves problem solving and increases resilience. Even soldiers and surgeons use reflection protocols to learn faster and avoid repeating mistakes. Another great habit, write a letter to your future self. Write regularly to your future self as a way of checking in with your growth. A month ahead, a year ahead, or even five. Tell them what you're learning, what you hope, and what you want them to remember about this moment. This creates perspective. It shifts you from being stuck in today's stress to imagining yourself as a continuing, evolving story. Now, it can feel awkward at first, but when you go back and read old letters, you'll realize how much you've grown and how often your worries work themselves out. Research in positive psychology shows future self connection increases motivation and reduces procrastination. People who imagine and write to their future selves are more likely to follow through on long term goals. So, where prayer asked you to remember what God had done, these practices help you remember what you have done. And that's far more empowering. Are you ready for another question? When was the last time you caught yourself grateful for something small? Did you notice how it shifted your mood? What did you learn about yourself in that moment? Let me know. I think we're ready for our third category, and that's strength or calm seeking. A lot of prayer was really about courage. We weren't just asking for strength, we were looking for a way to believe we could keep going, to find calm in the storm. The good news is you don't have to outsource that. There are practical ways to cultivate it right within yourself, and they actually work. Let's take visualization, for example. Instead of praying for help, picture yourself handling the challenge well. Imagine the meeting going smoothly, the conversation ending with understanding, the workout leaving you energized. The brain doesn't always distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. Visualization primes your nervous system for success, making the actual moment feel more familiar and less threatening. Now, at first, your mind may wander or slip into imagining failure. Just gently redirect back to the positive version. With practice, it becomes easier and more natural. Olympic athletes and elite performers use visualization routinely. Studies show it can improve performance by up to 45% when combined with practice. Another great habit, mantra repetition. Use a mantra for focus. You can use a short, secular mantra to anchor yourself. Something like steady, soft, strong, or breathe, trust, move. Repeat it silently or aloud until the words take root. Repetition interrupts spirals of anxious thought and create a rhythm the brain can latch onto. It's basically replacing mental noise with a mental anchor. The first few times may feel awkward, like you're just talking to yourself, because that's exactly what you're doing. But stick with it. Over time, certain mantras will become second nature and instantly calming. Clinical studies on mantra based meditation show significant reductions in stress and anxiety, sometimes within just a few weeks of practice. This next one sounds weird, but it works. Grounding ritual. Touch something physical, stone, a bracelet, a tree, my glasses, even, while centering your thoughts. Sometimes the best way to quiet your mind is to reconnect with your body. Touch something physical, a stone you carry, even placing your hand on a tree or walking barefoot on the grass. Focus on the texture, the temperature, the realness of it. Grounding pulls your mind out of runaway thoughts and back into the present moment. It's especially powerful in moments of panic or racing thoughts. It may feel strange the first time, but the sensory focus gives your brain something tangible to hold on to. Often, your heart rate slows within seconds. Grounding techniques are widely used in trauma therapy to interrupt flashbacks and anxiety. They're simple, but for many people, life changing. Where prayer once said, "Give me strength," these practices help you find it in yourself, predictably, measurably, and without needing permission from above. Time for another question. What mantra, lyric, or phrase helps you push through stress? Maybe it's a lyric from a song. And how could you use it more intentionally? I'll be looking for your responses. Our next category of habits is perhaps one of the most important ones, and that's connection with others. One of the hidden roles of prayer was relational. Saying, "I'll pray for you," was often shorthand for, "I see you, I care about you, and I want good for you." We don't lose that instinct just because we stepped away from religion. And honestly, we can meet it in ways that are far more direct and meaningful. For example, send a message of care. Instead of saying, "I'll keep you in my prayers," or "I'll be thinking about you," send an actual text, note, or voice message. Something as simple as, "Thinking of you today. I know it's tough, but you're not alone." Direct encouragement meets the human need for connection without detouring through superstition. People feel seen and supported in real time. Now, some replies will be short, but don't underestimate how much that message meant on their end. It creates connection where prayer only implied it. Research consistently shows social support is one of the strongest predictors of resilience. Even brief messages of encouragement reduce stress and boost mood. Another great habit: community check in. Join or initiate discussion in group chats, online communities, or support spaces. Instead of prayer requests, share updates, struggles, or victories. Humans are social learners. Sharing experiences normalize struggles and multiply solutions. It transforms isolation into belonging. At first, it might feel vulnerable to share openly, especially without the spiritual framing. But the honesty quickly builds trust and depth in community. Studies on group therapy and peer support show significant boost in well being and even physical health outcomes. Belonging literally heals. Shared rituals. Where there used to be prayer circles, replace them with group reflection, poetry readings, music sessions, or even shared silence. The format doesn't matter, the togetherness does. Ritual isn't about the supernatural, it's about rhythm, repetition, and meaning making. Shared practices amplify connection and memory. It may feel unfamiliar at first without the religious scaffolding, but over time, new traditions become just as comforting and powerful. Anthropological research shows rituals, religious or not, create collective effervescence, a feeling of being a part of something larger, which boosts cooperation and unity. The truth is, people never really needed prayer to connect with each other. They just needed an excuse. These practices cut out the middleman and go straight to what matters: real human connection. Now, what shared rituals or traditions outside of religion have given you that sense of connection? Are you ready for our last category of secular healthy habits? This category reflects the action oriented habits, which are not one of the most important. These are the most important. When people said, "I'll pray about it," what they often meant was, "I don't know what else to do." But here's the beauty: there is always something else to do, something concrete, measurable, and empowering. These practices take that urge for action and make it real. Number one, problem solving list. Write practical steps to address what's on your mind. When something weighs on you, don't just fold your hands and hope. Write it down. Break the problem into practical steps. Even if you can't solve it all today, knowing the next small move changes everything. List lower the mental load. Instead of juggling everything in your head, you give your brain permission to focus on one thing at a time. What you should immediately expect is relief, even before you take action. The act of clarifying steps makes problems feel smaller and doable. A Stanford study found that people who externalize problems into task lists reported reduced anxiety and increased follow through compared to those who just thought about it. You've heard this one before: acts of kindness. Replace prayers for the world with one small action of care. Instead of praying for the world, change something in it, however small. Check on a neighbor, buy someone coffee, share an encouraging post. You don't have to save the planet today. You just need to make one corner of it brighter. Kindness creates a feedback loop. Doing something good boosts your own mood and creates a ripple effect in others. Acts of kindness create a tangible lift in spirit. Studies call it the helper's high. You'll notice that the thing weighing you down feels lighter when you give. Research from the University of British Columbia shows that people who practice small acts of kindness for 6 weeks significantly increase their well being and life satisfaction. And now for our final secular habit of the day, and thank you for sticking with me this long: movement practice. Sometimes what you need most isn't words, but motion. Yoga, stretching, or just a 10-minute walk. Your body carries stress, and moving is how you let it go. Movement clears cortisol from your system and signals to your brain that you're safe. Cortisol is the stress hormone. Even mild movement shifts mood. It doesn't require a gym membership. Walking around the block can reset your entire mindset. The CDC notes that just 10 minutes of daily activity improves mood and reduces anxiety. Regular movement is as effective as medication for mild to moderate depression in many studies. Prayer gave the illusion of acting on problems. These habits make sure you actually do. They turn your passivity into your progress. Here's one final question for the day. If you wrote a problem solving list for what's stressing you right now, what would be the very first step? The key shift is where prayer once outsourced power to the divine, these habits return that power to you, your community, and the world around you. At the end of the day, this isn't just about swapping one ritual for another. The real shift is deeper. Prayer asked you to hand your power away, to wait, to hope, and to believe that someone else would act on your behalf. These habits do the opposite. They return that power to you, to your own mind and body, to your relationships, to the community you build, and the real world you can touch. And that's the difference. Prayer was about surrender. These habits are about ownership. Prayer was about wishing. These habits are about doing. Prayer was about looking up. These habits teach you to look inward, outward, and forward. When you practice them, you're not just replacing prayer, you're reclaiming your agency. You're learning that stillness, strength, gratitude, and connection aren't gifts granted from above, they're skills, and skills grow stronger every time you use them. When I think about what community is, when I think about what the church was for many people, I think about community as a service. I know so many people right now whose passion was media, and if it weren't for their church, they wouldn't be able to pursue that passion. I know so many people whose passion is music, and if it weren't for their church, they wouldn't have a place to practice that passion. I know people whose passion is communication and finding ways to inspire and motivate other people. And if it weren't for their churches, church shouldn't be the only place that meets those needs. It shouldn't be the only place that nurtures our gifts, platforms our voices, and empowers our living. That's why Bridge City Global is building community and creating the space to help you keep rising. Join us October 25th or the 26th in Venice or San Diego, your choice. Our local Bridge City community is having their initial liftoff weekend. And as a way of celebrating, we're hosting our very first Rise event. This is for you. We're about to shed the weight of limiting beliefs and open ourselves to clarity, purpose, and possibility. Through powerful voices and intentional community, you'll not only rediscover your own strength, but also the belonging that comes when we choose to rise side by side. And for those interested in being a part of this global community, go ahead and tap in now, and you may get an invite to our Friday evening and Sunday morning activities while you're in Cali. Don't miss this moment. Add Liftoff Weekend to your calendar and be ready to rise. Register now.
Take another shot at me.
Hi, friends. If you enjoyed this conversation today and you've been looking for a community grounded in reason, I want to invite you to join me every Sunday at noon right here on this channel for our Sunday sessions. Sunday is a weekly touch point for our global community to get connected, motivated, and empowered toward personal growth, community development, and global progress. If you'd like the opportunity to meet me in person, join me in Mississippi on October the 16th for Confessions of an Ex-Pastor, hosted by the Secular Student Alliance. Or join me in sunny California the weekend of October 25th, where I will be meeting with our local community there while hosting our first empowerment based event. Make sure to register using the link in the description. Our movement is in the stellar formation phase at this moment, which means that our continued growth, expansion, and reach are very much resource dependent. Joining Patreon or donating monthly through PayPal are easy ways to support not only the channel and the content, but also the growing community. We're on the edge of making an indelible impact that transforms words of wisdom into hands of help. Well, that's all for today, fam. Until next time, keep rising.